The DeLorean car's passenger side have innuendos perhaps, but you could interpret it either way, don't you? If you have a disturbed mentality, that is. Unprecedented documents, contracts, and notes directly pertaining to Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons have been discovered during the opening of Ace Frehley's estate. These records detail the songwriting and managerial choices made by Ace within KISS, demonstrating how he monitored each contract, tour, revenue, and label control. They also make the members' intricate ties and important internal decisions clear. A fresh look at the lives and tense connection between these three rock icons is offered by this video, which walks you through every detail, dissects the manuscripts and contracts, and presents the complete image of Ace Frehley's legacy. One of the original members of the rock band KISS, guitarist Ace Frehley, has away. He was 74. Ace Frehley died in Morristown, New Jersey on October 16, 2025, leaving behind a large legacy and numerous significant documents. According to court records, family attorneys are handling his estate, and a 120-page book that describes Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons' hobbies and pursuits is stored in a safe. The documents contain thorough details on the writing process, album earnings, and management decisions for the KISS brand tour. These notes serve as a valuable source of information for comprehending internal connections and demonstrate Ace Frehley's tight control over both his own and the other band members' interests. Ace has made reference to these documents in earlier interviews. In an interview about his personal legacy, he stated, "I always keep what I write, not for anyone, just to make things clear later." According to a lawyer working on the estate administration, the book contains information on ownership and contracts KISS established during his career. In order to safeguard his interests and maintain transparency, Ace took decisions that are reflected in the notes, which also describe modifications to each member's involvement in tour recording schedules and individual contracts. The memos also detail Ace Frehley's interactions with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley regarding commercial and creative choices. Frehley's thorough thought of keeping control over his branding and music endeavors is evident in the notes. He states in one part of the text, "Everything I do is to keep my work and agreements respected. These information are kept in AC's personal safe and have been confirmed by attorneys and estate administrators to be legally binding." The estate also contains copyright agreements, legal correspondence about songwriting ownership, and album production archives, which help define the rights and responsibilities of each band member and clarify complicated decisions about brand management and earnings, according to the family's attorneys. These documents document all prior agreements with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and confirm the control Ace exercised at each stage of his career. "I don't want anything to be misinterpreted. Everything has to be kept accurate so everyone can see what happened," Ace Frehley wrote in his personal notes, outlining the estates and the manuscript's management, emphasizing the value of transparency regarding rights and songwriting history. Ace Frehley's relationship with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons was always about creative control and financial gain, as evidenced by the notes, which were verified by lawyers and legal experts, and the manuscript documents conversations about tour decisions, albums, personal income, and the distribution of benefits. Ace writes in parts of the manuscript that he always closely followed each contract and agreement with Stanley and Simmons, making sure that the terms were fully implemented and that his rights were respected. These notes clearly define the roles of each member of KISS and how Ace maintained independence in decision-making. A thorough picture of Ace Frehley's musical journey, including its benefits, conflicts, and departure, will be created by examining his relationship with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons in the context of his career and personal events, starting with the control and preservation of the manuscript. Ace Frehley's career in KISS experienced a period of tension related to internal conflicts and personal decisions. Due to disagreements over creative control and perks within the group, Ace departed the band for the first time in many years in 1982. This choice was a career turning point that left him pursuing solo endeavors but also left him with unsolved issues with John Simmons and Paul Stanley. Following his departure from Kiss, Ace continued to tour and pursue a solo career with Frehley's Comet, releasing albums that showcased his unique guitar style and technique while keeping a close professional relationship with the Kiss members. Ace carefully crafted each contract and agreement he signed to safeguard his own interests and guarantee that copyright and earnings terms were upheld. Documents from this era demonstrate that Ace followed through on every contract and agreement, making sure his interests were fully respected. Ace later returned to Kiss for the 1996 to 2002 reunion tour, which offered opportunities for collaboration but also put pressure on creative control and earnings. Ace's relationship with Paul and Gan remained strained throughout the reunion, especially with regard to the tour album and individual roles in the band. Long-standing disputes over creative control and branding were also brought to light during the rejoining process. Ace Frehley was adamant about choosing performance parts, guitar solos, and copyright control, and these agreements, which are recorded in his personal files and estate, demonstrate that he always prioritized his career and personal interests. Every decision regarding a tour or album was to ensure a fair distribution of benefits and ownership, while also protecting his personal image, Ace stated in notes and conversations. Ace's second departure from Kiss in 2002 was premeditated and based on evaluations of creative control, personal influence, and the band's overall management. In addition to focusing on solo projects, Ace's decision to leave the group allowed him to consolidate the management of assets and manuscripts related to Paul Stanley's and Gene Simmons' rights, and his careful consideration of his rights and responsibilities is demonstrated by personal records and contracts held in the estate. Notes from this period demonstrate that Ace strictly adhered to every contract and provision, documented changes in each member's involvement in joint ventures, and maintained a strict approach to song ownership, tour revenue, and brand rights during his time away from the group and his solo endeavors. According to the estate lawyer, these documents are a crucial foundation for establishing present and future rights. Ace Frehley's disputes with the other two members also centered on the management of the Kiss brand, including choices regarding tours, music merchandise, and the use of personal photos. Even in the face of internal pressure and protracted conflicts, Ace Frehley consistently maintained a clear strategy for his personal interests and careers, as evidenced by his manuscripts and archives, which document each decision he made while acknowledging the responsibilities of each member. A thorough understanding of Ace's control and strategic role within Kiss was made possible by the way he handled each contract, each performance, and the ownership of his compositions, which established a clear system that safeguarded his personal interests while maintaining transparency regarding each member's responsibilities. This system served as a crucial basis for Ace to sustain long-term influence and also dictated how internal interests and decisions were made. Internal rights and influence. Throughout his career, Ace Frehley kept a close eye on his personal interests and his relationships with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Records in the estate show how Ace managed contracts, copyright ownership, tour and album earnings, which helped him safeguard his place in the band and make sure that decisions about earnings distribution were handled truthfully and openly. The texts demonstrate that Ace scrupulously adhered to all agreements concerning profits, image rights, and band strategy. They also describe the process of sharing earnings among the three members, outlining roles and duties in each project. The estate attorney confirmed that the manuscripts provide a solid legal basis, demonstrating how Ace maintained control over all significant aspects of Kiss, including an analysis of contract terms and the process of dividing profits from albums, tours, and commercial projects. Ace took every precaution to ensure that his intellectual property and personal interests were respected. Additionally, the documents demonstrate Ace Frehley's involvement in strategic band decisions, including individual performances, guitar solos, song selections, and tour details. Ace's personal interests were always balanced with his overall role in the group, ensuring that all activities were in accordance with the contract and ownership, as evidenced by the notes on these decisions. The manuscripts also revealed direct conversations between Ace and Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons on delicate topics like creative control, personal income, and the use of the brand image. Ace made it clear where he stood on his rights and documented all changes to the agreement, from profit sharing to promotional projects or band-related collateral. These decisions were documented in the estate and became crucial evidence in determining current rights. The manuscripts detailed decisions made during the recording album, release, and tour preparation process created a thorough filing system to determine each member's ownership and responsibilities. These documents also helped to clarify the rights and responsibilities of each member and offered a detailed look at how internal decisions affected Ace's legacy and career. Ace's internal interests and influence also reflected how Ace kept track of tour schedules, performance times, and musical production decisions. The personal notes also show how Ace organized legal arrangements, kept copies of contracts, and created a detailed list of interests, demonstrating that Ace always made sure that every decision was based on personal interests and benefits, while also playing a significant role in managing the overall Kiss brand. The manuscripts and archives served as the foundation for settling estate interests and managing the legacy, reflecting Ace's long-term strategy throughout his career. The estate also documents how Ace worked with lawyers and managers to ensure that all interests, contracts, and copyrights were executed in accordance with plan, demonstrating that he was well prepared for any changes in the band, including departures or solo projects. These established and well-documented rights and controls paved the way for a synthesis of Ace Frehley's legacy and lasting impact, highlighting his enduring value and role in music. The documents also document changes in ownership, including control of songs, tour earnings, and commercial projects. Ace was able to maintain influence even after leaving group projects and to ensure that his personal interests were fully protected. Ace Frehley's guitar technique is highly regarded, and his solos and riffs are signatures on albums and performances. His inventiveness not only shaped the Kiss sound but also influenced generations of guitarists. Ace Frehley leaves behind a vast musical legacy as a Kiss pioneer and as a solo artist with his own style. The Spaceman performance style and image became synonymous with Ace Frehley, appearing not only on stage but also on Kiss album posters and commercial products, and the songs he wrote and co-wrote are still regarded as significant milestones in rock history. Ace was directly involved in decisions regarding guitar technique and performance costumes, adding a uniquely personal touch. Throughout his career, Ace continued to develop his own style, releasing significant albums like Ace Frehley Origins Volume 1 and Origins Volume 2, which not only solidified his position in the music industry, but also showed that he was capable of writing and performing on his own. These influences are still mentioned in the archives and manuscripts that Ace left behind. Ace Frehley's legacy is also reflected in the way he managed his personal interests and assets, and contracts and agreements from his solo career are documented in his estate, reflecting how Ace considered his personal interests in every decision. Ace Frehley's solo tours also gave him the chance to maintain a career outside of Kiss, build a devoted fan base, and increase his influence. In addition to protecting Ace's personal interests and ensuring that the musical legacy was preserved in accordance with his wishes, the manuscripts, contracts, and notes preserved in the estate demonstrate that he kept track of song writs, tour earnings, and Kiss brand decisions. These records also help to define Ace's role and influence in group projects, from the writing process to strategic decisions on tours and album releases. The manuscripts and documents preserved revealed Ace Frehley controlling songwriting rights, tour and album earnings, and defining the responsibilities of each band member. Ace Frehley maintained independence throughout his career, which was evident in his interactions with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, as well as in his solo endeavors. Ace's career and legacy are also honored with awards and honors. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and received other awards in the music industry. Ace was able to maintain clarity and transparency throughout his entire career, from his personal decisions to the Kiss career as a whole, thanks to this. Ace Frehley's legacy is a synthesis of guitar technique, performance-style songwriting, and professional control, These accolades demonstrate Ace's enduring influence on rock and his groundbreaking role in developing Kiss's unique image and sound. Ace's accomplishments, when paired with the notes in his estate, demonstrate how Ace maintained control and influence over time. Throughout his career, Ace Frehley maintained control and influence, as evidenced by the notes, manuscripts, and contracts in his estate. From the beginning of Kiss to his solo endeavors, Ace Frehley's legacy to music and the rock industry is rooted in his unique blend of creativity, management, strategy, and personal vision. The choices and tactics he made as a young man established enduring relationships, interests, and impact that are closely linked to the accomplishments he made during his musical career. The early years of Ace Frehley, Spaceman, was born in the Bronx, New York in 1951. He was passionate about music from a young age, particularly guitar, and his abilities soon outstripped those of his peers. Ace became the lead guitarist and Spaceman when he joined Kiss in 1973. Ace's early albums were not only commercially successful, but they also defined the band's signature sound, from guitar riffs to creative solos. Ace played a crucial role in the early stages of Kiss, helping to create the visual and musical icons associated with the Spaceman image. His guitar playing and distinctive performance style helped Kiss make a mark on the global rock music map. Ace contributed to the writing and development of important album tracks, helping to establish Kiss's long-term success. In addition to being a guitarist, Ace was also a key creative member of the group, helping to make strategic decisions about tours and albums. Ace also added his own personal touch to decisions about performance, instrumentation, and recording techniques. In 1978, Ace released Ace Frehley, his first solo album, which went platinum and was regarded as a landmark, showcasing his ability to write and perform on his own, as well as his unique guitar style and musical personality that set him apart from the other members. Ace's solo album also helped him establish his reputation in the music industry, broaden his personal influence, and acknowledge his role outside of Kiss. Ace's early interactions with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons were based primarily on creative collaboration and shared ownership of the band, and subsequent solo tours and performances further cemented Ace's reputation as an independent artist while keeping him connected to Kiss operations. Ace was crucial in making sure that choices about songwriting, touring, and income were made in the right way. Records and archives from this era demonstrate that Ace closely monitored his personal interests and the impact his choices had on the band as a whole, putting in place contracts, agreements, and tracks to safeguard his career while simultaneously making sure Kiss ran smoothly. During this time, Ace developed a unique guitar technique and performance style that distinguished him from his contemporaries while meticulously maintaining his own songwriting concepts and creative contributions, establishing the principles of creative control that he would continuously adhere to throughout his career. The lessons Ace learned from recording his early albums and going on international tours gave him invaluable experience in handling both artistic and professional challenges, and he took intentional steps to negotiate song rights and profit-sharing agreements, making sure each project had a clear legal and financial framework to protect his interests. The combination of skill development, business foresight, and careful planning during this period became the foundation for Ace's enduring influence in the music industry. These experiences prepared Ace to handle complex situations in the future, including navigating internal conflicts within the band, protecting his personal intellectual property, and making strategic decisions that would influence his long-term career trajectory. During this time, Ace Frehley also gradually came to understand his personal interests and the value of protecting his legacy. He kept a close eye on every contract, from tour earnings to song rights ownership, ensuring that every agreement was properly documented and enforced. His attention to detail was evident in every facet of his career, including solo projects, live performances, and collaborations. Ace was able to secure his artistic contributions and financial interests over time by taking these cautious steps, which laid a strong foundation for how he would manage his legacy. and retained control over important documents in later years, including manuscripts and detailed records directly related to his interactions and agreements with Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. From his spaceman role in Kiss to his independent solo career and the meticulous choices and recordings that shaped his legacy, Ace Frehley left behind an impressive musical journey. From his long-lasting influence on rock music to his meticulously detailed manuscripts on his rights and compositions, Ace's story reveals a talented artist who was always in charge of his career. Please share the video to spread the word about this story and subscribe to the channel to ensure you don't miss out on in-depth news about music and other rock legends. If you thought these details about Ace's legacy and influence were interesting, please support us by leaving a comment below indicating which aspect of Ace's legacy most speaks to you.